Hey guys, continuing with the next episode of Construction Anomalies series that I've started. I come back to this triumphal archway arch, which is right now located at the Kutuzov Prospect. Before that, as you can see, it was located near Belaruski station because the place looked different, but it was teleported here by Soviets after the World War II. Well, of course, it's kind of changed because the previous one was a little bit different, and all the sculptures from the previous ones right now in the Donskoy monastery, and these are the new copies, and we can see they are totally the same, but still it's very interesting to ask yourself, why did they transport this ark to here, to this place, because it looks like it's welcoming the Napoleon troops, which are like located to the west, and it's like greeting them to come in the city. And we asked a bunch of questions about it, so I went to the walk with Galina Koneshova and her fellowship of the mud flooders, and so we met near this arch, and so I started taking the pictures, and I welcome you to this video to check it out. So yes, I've been here already, and this is what I filmed before. This is the exact place where Napoleon was looking from the hill on the Moscow and waiting for the Moscow ambassadors to welcome it. And yes, I checked this interesting building, which was having strange three underground floors, and from the street side, and from the inside, as you can see, it has excavated part, and we also checked the shop here, so people also went here and checked it again. So yes, it has two underground floors, and you have to climb at least a couple of tens of steps to see it. And okay, all the inside of this house, this building is also has traces of being buried, and the houses all have all the houses around also have this underground buried windows, which are right now excavated. So this is the level of excavation. Actually, you can see it's rising, and not everywhere is looking so fancy as that house. So sometimes it just looks the same, as very ugly, and also a bunch of strange building which has rumors that have underground facilities of the Communist Party in Soviet Union. So all this district, in fact, was inhabited by the Communist Party people, and they were like important VIPs here. So perhaps this place is not very simple. Okay, and this church was also located here during after the Napoleon War, and it has underground buried windows. Very strange one. I might visit it sometimes else, and as you can see, I took some pictures of it, and the symbolism is very similar to Devichy Monastery, and all the houses around also had buried first floors. So very suspicious. In fact, all this area is very suspicious. And just close to this church, we have a fake house of Kutuzov, the Russian head general. I mean, everybody knows it's fake, and even the official says, yes, there was one original, but right now it got burned and stuff like this. So I don't know. Do you believe in these fairy tales? I mean, all this area has underground buried facilities, so It might as well be that village that was before, but it probably was not a village as we used to be told. It probably has like 3 2-floor brick houses here, brick constructions, and the leftovers of the buried constructions are right now used as foundations for most of these houses that we observe around. And this is how we can explain this anomaly. That's a closed museum of the War of 1812 and the monument to Kutuzov himself. It's very symbolic that the Russian people, the folks, are in the back of his horse, and to the sides are the nobility, those masons that were primarily even not speaking Russian and were supposed to be fighting for Russians. Yeah, we don't believe it. And the feathers on their heads looks like totally something ridiculous. That's this monument that I filmed before. So all those noble guys, all those generals, mainly were speaking French, and that was their native language. And they were supposed to fight French? Are you kidding me? The Kutuzov himself was having mail from Napoleon, and he was writing to Napoleon. Napoleon was writing to him. I mean, they all were communicating. And in fact, the village of Kutuzov, this Philly village, was right like 600 meters from the place Napoleon was standing. And it's just a 12-hour distance, guys. I mean, they used horses. They could probably catch Kutuzov in a half a day. I mean, are you kidding me? And all this Kutuzovsky prospect just reminds me the gates for Napoleon troops. We have all the strange constructions like this one, which was definitely excavated, and we can see the level of excavation right in front of it. And you know what's behind it? Right now it's the so-called Moscow Transport Circle, the new railway or subway, whatever you call it. So it's just, you know, it was constructed in the beginning of 19th century. I mean, are you kidding me? All those houses stand the way they are looking at this railway, so probably the circle was before, and maybe it was just excavated like the rest of this area, and they were just renovating those railways, excavating them from the mud, and that's it. That's what we see on the pictures. Well, we don't see any construction actually, we see just the renovations. So plenty of questions it should be raised, and I should research the history of Moscow railways more. You know, in fact I found a bunch of maps where you have the pictures, and I should, you know, check it more properly. But right now we've fallen back to Napoleon Kutuzov. You know, these towers look exactly like antique towers that I've been showing before in my previous videos, also having them in Moscow, and also objects supposed to be Soviet era objects, but you know, I haven't seen any proof of construction of this building or any other building with the same type of architectural style. So except maybe if you have some type of construction works close to them, but it's like less than even 1% of the fancy buildings that we see around. And those symbolism that the Masons also promote here, we also see it, we see the tracks of it. So many significant places here around the street. As I said before, communist leaders were living in those houses, and they're supposed to be standing right on a Jewish cemetery. Are you kidding me? I'll be showing those pictures from the past a little bit later, but as you can see now, the artist left us many interesting hints, like those ugly roofs and stuff like this, looking fancy from the outside and just, you know, very bad from the inside. That shows us that they were using this style, but didn't have enough resources to perform the antique buildings. And the inside sometimes looks very roughly made. This is the house that Brezhnev was living, and it's located right at the place of the cemetery that was made for those who died in the plague epidemic in Moscow in 1780s. This monument to some Ukrainian writer located right in front of this building, which also has some tracks of mud flood, but it's on the outside, but I'll visit it later. But this building of Brezhnev, where Brezhnev lived, he was Ukrainian also, like this writer, so probably all this style of Ukrainianism on the street is due to the direction that the street is located. It's located towards the Kiev's direction, so that's why probably Ukrainian leaders of Soviet Union also lived here. As you can see, plenty of devices, so-called devices, on the roofs, and I can see them on each and every street. So what are these? Just the cargo cooled devices or real condensators that we see in India or any other places, you know, in the world. So all these buildings have one in common. They have some details, some styles, some integration that could be showing us the message of the cargo cult. But can you believe actually that this building is located on a plague cemetery? That those communist leaders knew that it was really the plague cemetery? I doubt that, because very highly likely they knew that this was not a plague epidemic, that this was probably the burial place for those who died in the 19th century catastrophes, and just, you know, no one would send their kids to play above the graves of those who died in the plague, right? The material is primarily bricks, and those integrations sometimes look even ugly because they close some parts of the windows. So we thought it could be just the parts of the previous building, of the previous constructions, and they could be used to decorate the house, but, you know, didn't have enough resources to do it nice, so did it like only halfway, I don't know. So probably some forms were copied from the previous buildings. We see plenty of parts, spare parts that were laying around on the ground at those cemeteries and stuff like this. So probably some details also copied those cemetery style, as this one, for example. So some even have details that look like Egyptian ones, I don't know. So, and all these condensator type of devices on the roofs, and the buried windows in each and every one. So the local people that also followed our crowd, so we had like 3 local people there who lived in those houses, say that like two floors underground in each house. And it's not only on the front ones, the ones in the back also have the same one. So we walk in the backyards of each building and picture those windows. So the land is very expensive, and that's why they integrate the houses like this, so they can use in each and every square meter for accommodation. And the private property, of course, is selling at the very high stakes here in Moscow. It's one of the most expensive places, in fact, because it has so splendid views from the windows. But still, we can see details of the antique world here Even this old school has underground facilities here. So the main question is, did those who inhabit the area after the communists came, did they know it? Did they know that this is something below is actually something that is hidden? Or maybe they just were brainwashed like most of us in our era, living on the bones of those who died from plague? I doubt that. So was it the system of propaganda brainwashing so many people, so many smart people? We're just maybe afraid of saying something? People said that they were finding bones here while playing around, and but nobody found any coffins and stuff like this. So these were like, you know, places with a bunch of bones. So no burial procedures, just you know, and that they could be examined as the plague epidemic, a breakout, whatever. But actually no plague there, definitely, because nobody would be building expensive real estate above the plague cemetery, if you understand what I'm saying. And this story was probably made up. Talking about rotundas, on some roofs we have them. So is this the cargo code, guys, or is this really the ancient construction that were just, you know, kept to decorate the new houses, new buildings that were renovated here, restored? All this demonic symbolism, horses with the crazy eyes, this cemetery style type of looking things on the walls. I don't know, guys, it's really suspicious, and those architects definitely knew what they're trying to send the message with. Even though it got darker, we continued our trip towards the Kievsky station, and we're picturing the cemetery style around and those buried first floors, which are everywhere here. The followers of Galina Konasha are primarily women, and we had like only 3 or 4 guys, and all the people were like, you know, around 50 plus in average. So it looked kind of weird for the young people passing near us that we have like some type of excursion, and looking in each and every window, leaning, flashing it with the flashlights and stuff like this. That was very weird for me to feel it. So, but then I got used to it. Everybody's looking at me as a crazy person, and I was just trying to film the rest on the way. And I saw plenty of anomalies that I should come back to. I should continue research on the street. This elite district was very suspicious, very suspicious. And there's plenty of footage, and I'm gonna show you right now, from the ancient times, and plenty of evidence coming up probably from the street also. And now we're gonna check out old footage. But before we start, I announced that I'm gonna make a video on subways, so very interesting topic. So the old footage they found is kind of proving that some of what I've met is actually real, and it was here before. So although the church looks a little bit different, but it still has the buried first floor 100 years ago. And also we had like a beer factory there, so I should check it out. It's right close to the place, and so I should visit it. The whole place looked like a kind of a village before, but as you can see, two-story buildings all around, and they had a tramway and a boulevard in the middle of the street. So if you see, the railroad is already fixed, but we can see the tall houses, very tall buildings there, and that fancy house near the railways used to be the railway station. And the place was severely constructed according to the German footage of their era of picturing. While they were bombing Moscow, they were picturing it. And as we can see the footage from 1941, most of the houses already constructed. So who constructed those houses is pretty much a big secret, because we don't see any footage of most of them. Like 95% of the houses don't even have like a detail, except maybe that crane way behind this, and this house also on the hill, but it was constructed way after the war, so I don't know. And that's the cemetery footage. I mean, people sitting here having, I don't know, walking their kids, I don't know, playing around, and doesn't look that they pretty much respect that cemetery. So plenty of questions this place raises of how those houses were here before the war, when the Soviet Union was not even as powerful as we used to know. We don't have any questions to the places that have the signs of construction, but 95% of these houses were already built on the footage that we see, and we don't see any tracks of who built them. Those, like, the street is very long and it has a lot of houses, but only 3 or 4 of them have some signs of construction on the footage. And this house, for example, doesn't even have any picture of construction, although it's here from the 40s. I don't know. What is your take on this, guys? Is this street keeps any secret, or is just obviously a conspiracy theory that is just as stupid as people say about him? Okay, so what do you think? I want your comments in the comment section, guys. Don't forget to like and share the video, and I'm coming up with more walks in Moscow if we have some weather. We also walk around. That walk finished very late in the evening, so I had to return home like at around 11 p.m. So it took me like 8 hours to walk on just one street of Moscow. Okay, and plenty of underground facilities. We didn't even walk in half of them, so we should return, and I should do it by myself, because it's very hard to walk with people, with a large number of people, because everybody has something to say, something to see. It's okay to check it, but if you want to do it fast, you better do it alone. Okay, so I filmed a couple of these buried windows, and you can see no foundation below, just bricks. So probably we have another example of something that is really weird. And for example, this door was already pictured before. So it's like almost 2 feet deeper than this level of the street, and the elevator inside the inside the house looks also ugly, because it's not, you know, designed to be that like this. So all the windows have, right now, and they are not completely constructed, and I should return to check them out after it's all done. But such type of buried windows, not the buried but bricked up windows inside the arches and stuff like this, and plenty of those who have example of real existing underground facilities like this house, is not a very strange thing on the street. Each and every house has it, so everybody who was local with us totally confirmed that it's true about this area. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and see you guys later on my subway series, and more on Polytechnical Museum coming up soon. See you later. Bye.